Hello everybody out there in YouTube land, this is Hardworker12 making a little video about a car that I recently purchased. This is a 1985 Saab 900S, and if you know your Saabs, as I do, this is actually the fourth one that I've owned. This is a bit of a rare model. It is a two-door notchback sedan. So what that means, obviously it is a two-door, but it has a trunk. Most two-door Saab 900s like this had a hatchback if it was a two-door, or the convertible. Those models are relatively common as far as Saabs go. This was a model that was only imported into the United States for 2 years, 85 and 86. This is an 85. And based on what I could find, there's only about 1,300 of these for 85 and 86 total in the United States. All of the two-door notchbacks were imported as 900S models, which means it's a non-turbo, but it was had a few upgrades on it, moonroof, various things like that, power windows, just to, you know, it's kind of the luxury package, I guess, back in 85. Cosmetically, she's in pretty good condition, not perfect. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little boo-boo on the right rear quarter panel, but relatively good shape. I've been enjoying the car quite a bit, had it a few months. It's not my primary vehicle, it's just something that I kind of drive around for fun, a little bit of a classic, and I'm going to show you a magic trick. Look at that. That is the way that the hood opens on the Saab 900. Kind of a unique feature, something that gets some attention. Let's have a look at this beautiful motor right here. This is a inline 2-liter 4-cylinder single overhead cam on the 85. If you're lucky enough to have an 86 900S, that's actually a 16 valve with a little bit more power. As far as the power on this goes, 115 horsepower, something like that. The turbos were a little bit more satisfying. I've had a turbo one of these in the past, but this is still a very good engine. It's a little strange because it's installed in the car backwards. As you can see, there's the windshield, there's the firewall, and that is your accessory drive. So all of the things that are in the front on most other cars are in the back on a Saab 900. So air conditioner, compressor, alternator, things like that. The power output actually is from the front. You can't see that here because that's down below, but that's where the power goes into the transmission. But I've always loved these engines. They run very well, and I'm going to show you just how well in a second. All right, so now we are inside of the car, and I would like to draw your attention to the odometer. Now, one thing on old 900s, the odometers normally break. This is the 5th one that we've had in my family. All of the odometers broke anywhere between 87,000 and 204,000 miles on all those other 4 cars. This car is unique, at least amongst the 900s that we've owned, in that the odometer still works. It has a genuine 335,070 miles on the clock as I film this video. Original engine, original transmission, very impressive. You're not going to get that out of most cars. The interior, again, is in relatively good shape. A few little things. This right here is the rear defrost switch, which kind of pokes out of there for, I don't know, it's old. It can do it. It actually still works, the rear defroster, but the switch kind of hangs out. But luckily, when you're driving the car, you can't really see it because it's blocked by the steering wheel, so who cares? We have some rally gauges. Yes, this was an option that this particular car has. I always wanted a Saab with this. My dad actually has an 89 900 turbo convertible that has this feature as well. But you have your external temperature gauge, which only really works if you are moving, like on the highway. If you're stuck in traffic or whatever, it goes straight to 100, so it's not that accurate. Voltage gauge, which works For reasons that I'm not fully privy to, again, I'm certainly not the first owner of this car. I've only had it a few months, but the oil temperature gauge is a Volvo gauge, which rarely ever works, and when it does work, it just goes crazy. So I don't really worry too much about the oil temperature. Aftermarket stereo works just fine. Couple other unique features to the Saab. This one's a manual transmission, thank God. I've had one of these with an automatic before, and the manual is far desirable to the automatic. The ignition's down here. This is the original ignition to start the car. Apparently at some time something happened to that, so we have a secondary aftermarket ignition installed in the vehicle. Let me see if I can find the keys to it so I can fire it up for you. And again, don't really know why. I'm assuming this one failed since it's sticking out of here, and this was an easier fix, but who cares? Because it works. Fires right up. Tachometer works maybe 1% of the time when you're driving the car. It's not real happy with life, the tachometer, but who cares, because I know these cars so well that I pretty much know the RPM I'm in based on my gear and my speed. If you've never driven one of these and you happen to drive one and the tachometer doesn't work, I'll give you a rule of thumb. In second gear, for every 10 miles an hour, that's 1,000 RPM. For third gear, every 15 miles an hour is 1,000 RPM. And in fourth gear, every 10 miles an hour is 2,000 RPM. So if you're in fourth and you're doing 40, you're doing 2,000 RPM. So who cares? You don't really need the tach. Just listen to the motor anyway, and listen to it. Very smooth, revs nicely, pulls great. My very first car was an 84 900 sedan with the same engine, and I would say this one's actually a little bit faster than my 84 was. Despite the 335,000 miles, it really runs great. And how could that be? How could a car with that many miles run so well? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you my favorite thing about this car. And it's not even anything about the car. It's this little black book right here that was in the glove box. Now, the gentleman who owned it before me was not the first owner. He purchased it on May 4th of 2002. And everything he ever did to the car, including fuel, these are all fuel fill-ups, he recorded in this book. Oil change, spark plug wires he did at 137,000 miles, gas, oil and filter change at 186,000, oil and filter at 195, belts, front rotors, front brake calipers, and pads replaced at 197, 828.2. Don't know how he got the 0.2 because the main odometer doesn't record fractions, but hey, I'll trust him. Smog check, I mean, you can see transmission oil temperature sensor, and wired to gauge. Oh, that's the Volvo gauge right there at 202,000 miles. That's funny. So the maintenance on this car, unbelievable. I mean, you are not going to find something like this with just about any car. I mean, I've owned a lot of cars. I've seen a lot of cars. This is just really beyond the pale. And I have continued it. My handwriting is not as nice. But when I realized what this was, I started my own little tally, and every time I put gas, I keep it in there. Exhaust manifold bolt replaced, oil change, tires rotated. I even let my dad borrow this car because he needed a car, and I said, you can have it as long as you want, but you got to keep this log up, and he did. So I'm going to keep that going. But that's my 85 Saab. I love it. It's just a second car to drive around, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a great day. And if you ever get a chance to buy one of these, honestly, they're not for everybody. You want to get one with a manual transmission, but the manual transmission takes some getting used to. It's a little bit notchy compared to some other manual transmissions, but once you're used to that, and once you kind of got to get a feel for this car. It's like a Radiohead album. You've got to kind of, you know, spend 6 months with it before you can really appreciate it. But once you do, I firmly believe that the original generation Saab 900, which this is, one of the finest designs of cars ever built. Not perfect. It's got some quirks, it's got some flaws, but just a phenomenal car. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day. And hey, rest in peace, Saab.